Welcome to the Becker County Museum Roadshow. It is time to explore or continue exploring eastern Becker County, and today we are in Osage. And we're at the Senior Nutrition Center, which is in the basement of the old school, right, Archie?
Yes.
Archie Henderson is with us today. So, did you go to school in this building?
Yes. I went to school from the 2nd grade through the 8th grade in this building.
You did?
Yes.
It's been around a while.
That's right.
I'm not infer that you're
That's
old,
right.
but...
Uh-huh.
And I understand that this Osage was one time called Carson. They said something about it, and then someone came from Osage, Iowa, and named it, and became the postmaster and named it Osage.
This was a rivalry.
Really?
Between the Carsons and the McKinleys. The McKinleys were from Osage, Iowa, and the Carsons lived out of town about a half mile.
Oh.
And they was the first people to have the post office because they were the most early settlers. But finally the McKinleys gained enough government influence to they got the post office from Carson.
Okay, and you know, I used to think it was named after the Osage Indians, but it isn't. It was, the man's name was Sage. And that's how Osage, Iowa got its name.
Yes.
That this is named after.
Yes. A gentleman that served as a colonel in the Civil War, he recruited 25 people from Osage, Iowa, 25 men, which was a platoon that he volunteered his platoon in services to the Civil War.
Okay.
After the war was over, while he was giving perks, you know, as being a leader in the war, and he come up here and set a lot of claims and designed or laid out the city of Osage.
And actually, this Osage is on the edge of the 3rd Shell Prairie, that, according to the book that I read.
Yes.
And they came here not for lumbering necessarily, but for farming. But they did have a big lumber mill here.
Yes, they did.
And it fell in the lake?
Yes. At first, it started out as a flour mill because there was no railroads in the area, and this was a primary wheat producing area. That was their source of bread, was wheat. And they could grow it right here. They turned over the prairie sod, and instantly the next year had wheat.
Okay.
So they used this wheat. They made a flour mill here that ground the wheat, and that was their substantial grain in the area. But later then, it went to lumbering as a lumber mill. The same dam produced power for the lumber mill.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Did they produce electricity ever from the lumber mill, I mean from the dam, or it was just for turning out the lumber?
It was a power wheel, a water wheel in the dam they used.
And it fell into the lake. I don't understand that.
In the wintertime, they figure it was either muskrats or beaver had worked into the bank of the lake and had undermined it, and in the spring breakup, with the more pressure of water against the dam, it developed and just a gusher just come out and took the whole dam out and took the footings for the flour mill. It's set right here. This is the beach now, but this is where the old mill used to sit.
Okay, tell me, Archie, baseball is so important in certain sections of eastern Becker County. Did you have baseball teams here?
We had baseball teams. In the 30s, we had a rivalry that would better than the professionals now. It was between Ponsford and Osage and Wolf Lake and Hubbard. And when they played ball, it was for keeps.
Really?
The ball diamond was right out here on the old Sanderson farm.
Okay.
And there's a uniform right on the wall there belonged to, I believe, Kenneth Sarton. That was one of the old players of the Osage ball team.
I was wondering about that. And yeah, I found an interesting story. Osage is closer to Hubbard County and Park Rapids than it is, well, it's in Becker County, but than it is to Becker County. But we have the famous Smoky Hills right in between, don't we?
Yes, yes. The Smoky Hills stretch from Wolf Lake to Ponsford.
Yes.
And the crown point of the Smoky Hills at Ponsford was called Pine Point ever since the discovery days. And it was covered with pines. The rest was prairie around it. And that's where the Indian reservation, or the Indian village there, was named Leighton after the Pine Point.
After the Pine
and that
Point.
Pine Point still exists now.
Well, it's a beautiful part of Minnesota.
Yes, it is.
You've got the prairie, you've got the white pine, you've got the hills, the lakes, everything, and this famous trout stream. So thank you, Archie, for bringing us pictures and for talking with us about Osage, Minnesota.